Well, your user has filled in the form and pressed the Submit button. The form processing takes place, and the form request and the form dataset are sent to the server. The server sees that the requested CGI name ends in .php, so it launches the PHP processor and points to the script using a file label of stdin, standard in. Well, we're about to write our first CGI script in PHP, but first we need to learn a little bit about the language. The PHP processor reads in the lines in a script file using the name stdin, standard input, and by default copies the lines from stdin to stdout, standard output, which will then be sent back to the client. But if the processor finds a PHP start tag less than $PHP, then it expects to find PHP commands in the standard input stream. PHP commands can access the form dataset values as well as files and databases on the server and can write to the standard output file. You can turn PHP command processing on and off. Greater than stops PHP processing and simply continues to read from standard in and write to standard out until the end of file or another PHP start tag is found. I personally always leave PHP processing on once I start it. You can omit the final end tag if you wish. So you could start a PHP script something like this: a doc type statement, an HTML start tag, a head start tag, a title element, the head end tag, and the body start tag, and then, here's our PHP start indicator. And after that, we will have PHP statements. Now, the first 6 lines here would be sent direct to standard out, and then the processor interprets PHP logic to process the lines after the PHP start tag. Alternatively, you might want to start right off with a PHP start tag. Now, we need to introduce some basic information about the PHP language. So in general, PHP is case sensitive. PHP statements end with a semicolon. And PHP variable names begin with a $sign followed by a letter or an underscore. The remainder of a name consists of any number of letters, numbers, or underscores. $this is a reserved variable name that cannot be assigned a value. Single line comments, / create a comment. Everything after that till the end of the line is a comment. But you can have multi-line comments, begin with /*, and this comment can cross line boundaries until you end with an */. And blank lines can appear anywhere. Data types of interest. Boolean data type, the value is either true or false, and true or false can be specified in a case-insensitive way, uppercase, lowercase, or a mixed case. Integer data is a string of numeric characters, optionally preceded by a plus or minus sign. The default is decimal, base 10, but there is support for binary, base 2, octal, base 8, and hexadecimal, base 16. We will only use decimal initially. Floating point, from our perspective, these are numbers that can include a decimal point. String, a series of 1-byte characters. A string is bounded by single quotes or double quotes. In single quoted strings, a literal single quote is represented by a preceding backslash. So we have quote, this is, and then a backslash, quote, 10 mine. So it basically takes that as an apostrophe. A backslash itself is represented by 2 backslashes. So in the quote, here is a backslash character, \\. The backslash is called an escape character. Embedded variables will not have their values substituted in single quoted strings. In double quoted strings, embedded variables will have their values substituted, and there are a number of escape sequences of interest. \n represents a new line, keeping the same position on the line. $R represents a return to the first position on a line. $T represents a horizontal tab. \\\ represents a backslash. $$ represents a literal $, so it's not confused as a beginning of a variable name. And \\ represents a literal double quote. Often we will code $R\n to indicate a jump to the first position in the next line. Null. A value indicating a variable has not been set to any value. This word is also case insensitive. The assignment operator works as expected. For example, $A equals 12345, semicolon, or $place equals, quote, Cleveland, close quote, semicolon. The standard arithmetic operators are available. In particular, we represent addition with a plus sign, subtraction with a minus sign, multiplication with an asterisk, division with a slash. Now, $A %$B is what they call modulo. It's the result, that is the remainder of $A divided by $B. And $A asterisk asterisk $B is exponentiation, raising $A to the $B power. In these examples, $A and $B can be numeric literals or variables with numeric values, or even expressions with numeric values. Strings can be concatenated, that is, strung together, using the dot concatenation operator. For example, quote, this is space, quote, dot, $place, dot, quote, semicolon. Note you can have spaces around the dot or not. Notice the space after the word is. Combining this, for example, you might see $greeting equals, quote, hello, comma, space, quote, dot, $person, dot, quote, comma, space, good to see you, period, quote, semicolon. And if the value of $person is Henry, say, then $greeting will contain, hello, Henry, good to see you. Our first PHP verb is echo. In the PHP documentation, they refer to this as a language construct, but make no mistake, it is a verb. The syntax is echo, string expression, semicolon. The string expression is written to standard out, eventually to become part of an HTML page. Accessing past variables. To get a value for an entry in the query string, that is, the variables that were put in the form, PHP is designed so that variables are accessed by using this syntax, $_, uppercase GET, bracket, and in quotes, name, close quote, close bracket. Name is the name used in the query string, which was the name used in the control in the form. For example, $person equals $_get, bracket, quote, first name, quote, bracket, semicolon. And $email equals $_get, bracket, quote, email, quote, bracket, semicolon. So a PHP variable is assigned the value of the past control. So recall from the previous lesson, we had built a page for people to sign up for an upcoming trip to Japan, and the page displayed this way. And the action for the form was cgi's/addres.php. So here's a possible version of that code. We have a PHP start tag, and then a comment, PHP CGI to display values passed from the addreservation.html page. This CGI is invoked using get and simply confirms receipt of the request. Single line comment variables used in our work. $fname equals $_get, bracket, quote, first name, quote, bracket, semicolon. $lname equals $_get, bracket, quote, family name, quote, bracket, semicolon. $emails equals $_get, bracket, quote, email, quote, bracket, semicolon. So there's our variables. Now, to build a response page, we have a series of echo statements. Echo, doc type HTML, echo, HTML lang equals en, echo, head, echo, title, your request to join our trip to Japan, echo, close, head, or head end tag, echo, body start tag, echo, H1 element, we have received your request, echo, H2, welcome, quote, $fname dot, quote, comma, we have received your request to join our trip, echo, body end tag, echo, HTML end tag, and turn off the PHP processor. So notice the start and end PHP tags, and the end tag, as we said, is optional if it's at the end of the file. And I tend to use this kind of structure. We have a PHP start tag and a comment describing the purpose of the CGI and a comment describing the logic of the CGI, and then I declare or initialize the variables I'm going to be using, and then the actual code that works with the variables, and then finally the PHP end tag. Now just take a look how these echoed lines create a web page. This is what the standard out will see. Especially look carefully at the echo with the H2 element. Echo the string composed of the literal H2 start tag welcome space concatenated with the value of the $fname variable, concatenated with the literal comma space we have received your request to join our trip H2 end tag, terminated by a semicolon. When the PHP processor substitutes the value of the variable, let's assume the first name is, say, Johnny. The resulting line will look like this to your browser. H2, welcome Johnny, we have received your request to join our trip. End H2. Now, punctuation here can get a little tricky, balancing opening and closing quotes correctly. What can help here is the point made earlier, that within a double quoted string, variables have their values substituted. So the following statement creates the same result with less of a chance for error. Echo double quote, H2, welcome $fname, comma, we have received your request to join our trip, end H2 tag, end double quote, semicolon. Now either way, the result would look like this to the user, which is only slightly informative, but the point here is to demonstrate a simple example. So we can add a line such as echo double quote H2 start tag will send additional information to $email H2 end tag semicolon, which will echo back the second variable. But it would be very user-friendly if we give the user an option of where to go from here. So we can also add this line, echo H3 start tag A, href equal ... index.shtml greater than. Click here to go back to our home page, end A tag, end H3 tag. So now the user would see this, which demonstrates to the user that you got their information correct and you've provided a what's next path for them. Notice the ... in the href. This is because the PHP program is actually running in the CGI's directory, so we need ... to point to the owning directory. Here's a recap. We've covered lots of territory in this session in introducing PHP, case sensitivity, rules for variable names, start with a $, then alphanumeric or underscore, single line comments and multi-line comments, blank lines allowed everywhere, statements end with a semicolon, data types boolean, numeric, either integer or floating point, and string, the assignment statement, the arithmetic operators, string literals, single quoted or double quoted, the concatenation operator, dot, for string data type, the echo statement, the PHP start and end tags, standard processing of standard input and standard output, and using $_get bracket quote name quote bracket to access values passed from forms. The source manual for PHP is at https://www.php.net/manual/en/. Coming up, In the next lesson, we explore more about PHP, if statements, comparison operators, how to access various server variables, and how to send emails from a PHP CGI script. See you there.